Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tennis Uncovered. I really appreciate all the support you guys have shown so far for the new tennis podcast. Remember, you can follow along on socials at Tennis Uncovered Pod. We're live on Instagram, on Twitter, and of course you can watch all the episodes on YouTube. Now, for today's episode, I'm so excited to be joined by Amy Wright. Amy is a former teammate of mine and the former university tennis coordinator of Cardiff Met Tennis. She's now working in the big wide world for a charity called Sport in Mind. She's doing tremendous work in that space, and we talk all things psychology in tennis and the work she's now doing and how tennis has helped her in this new role she has. But the chat's a fascinating one and I'm sure you're going to love it. But if you guys are all set, let's get into the chat with Amy. Amy Wright is here joining the Tennis Uncovered podcast. I am very excited for this one, Amy. So, first of all, how are things?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, very busy. Obviously, finished my masters in January. Moved from Cardiff to Surrey, and living an adult working life, I guess.
Yeah, into the big wide world.
Yeah, exactly.
I sort of start off every episode that I've done so far with just asking sort of what drew you to tennis. And I know it can be fairly similar with most people, but often there's little discrepancies that I find quite interesting. So I guess, my first question to you would be, what drew you to tennis as a kid?
Yeah, so I think I've always been like very, very sporty. Always playing. Even when I was younger, playing football at lunchtimes in the school playground, and yeah, we moved house from Sutton to Chichester, and every day we kept driving past this tennis club, and I was like, oh, I'd like to try tennis. My cousin at the time played tennis, and yeah, so started off with just having a few lessons. Obviously, I was absolutely rubbish to begin with. I did not always look forward to a Saturday afternoon with my coach because I just was rubbish at the time. And then I guess the love and the interest grew from there. Started to make some tennis friends, and then start to help with the little ones on a Saturday morning. And yeah, just kind of my tennis journey kind of grew from there, kind of built a community around, playing tennis and having friends through tennis. And yeah, obviously now into a career in tennis as well.
Mm. You sort of mentioned that social side of tennis. Is that sort of like it's always been for you, or I know you could play competitively at university, but before that, I actually don't know how much competitive tennis you played. What's the balance been like? Has there been a phase where it's been very serious on tennis, or has it been sort of a thing for you where you're like, no, this is sort of my getaway from sort of the hard work and the hustle and bustle of life?
Yeah, I think it's always been more of a social side. I think the first few years of playing tennis, I had to be quite heavily convinced into playing competitive tennis. I remember I used to, used to hit winners past my coach and apologise, and he'd used to be like, why are you apologising? I'd be like, I'm sorry, I hit the ball away from you, kind of thing. So I think for me, it's always been a social thing. I think particularly in my later teenage years, kind of 15, 16, my mum and dad split up. So I think I use tennis as very much a getaway, just to use it as stress relief, kind of emotional. Yeah, I'll just go and play tennis and be with my friends.
Yeah, I think we often talk about it, I guess, when we're sort of looking at competitive players that are looking to take tennis further, and you often look at their personality as a bit of an indicator as to whether you think they can go further. And I think I'm probably a little bit like you in the fact that we're probably a little bit too nice. Like I often feel bad with opponents. The rare time that I might be beating someone, I'm like, oh God, I do feel a bit bad for him though. Like, he's a nice guy.
Like when someone becomes injured, then I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry about this.
Yeah. So I don't think maybe we were cut out for the professional tour, but the main the main reason that I've sort of asked you to come on is sort of your interesting side to it, because you have that sort of background in psychology. You've obviously got a master's in sports psychology recently. Your undergrad at Cardiff Met was in sport and exercise science, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So I guess what took you to Cardiff Met? You obviously played a huge role there. You did your undergrad playing tennis, and then you came back to be the university tennis coordinator, which is a role that for the audience, runs student tennis at the university. You can maybe explain a little bit more about what you did for that year or 2 years it was.
Yeah, so yeah, the university tennis coordinator role, yeah, basically like what you said. So you kind of manage, oversee, and just try and get as many students playing tennis, really. So I think each UTC has a different role when they go. So for me, my imprint, obviously, I was part of the tennis club through my undergrad, so I kind of saw how the other UTCs kind of took it on and changed it. And I think for me, I think my passion, particularly obviously, I was a tennis coach as well on the side throughout my studies. Kind of from that story of kind of helping with the little ones. I then got my level one, got my level two. So I've always kind of had a coaching background, and I think for me, my kind of passion is just to get as many people playing tennis like me. For me, I always use tennis as that stress relief, that well-being side, the social side to get friends, and that's just I guess how you function as a human. So that was my kind of when I went into my UTC role. That's what I wanted to get out of it. I wanted to create a club that everyone felt welcome to, and if they wanted to play tennis, they could come and play tennis. That was kind of the club I wanted to try and create for all levels. So we had everything from if you've never played tennis before up until your performance, and everyone feeling like they belonged as part of the kind of Cardiff Met tennis community.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you did such a good job of making tennis accessible. I think, like, you probably still hold the record for the amount of members you brought into the club. So I think, yeah, you're someone who the sport of tennis needs dramatically because you're taking tennis to that different audience, and people that maybe thought that tennis isn't for them, you're sort of going to them and saying, no, actually, come try it. So that was something that stood out to me of what you did amazingly. But I guess you touched a little bit on it there, but what were the ins and outs of trying to do that? How were you trying to get tennis opened up, especially at university, because that's where we were obviously based at Cardiff Met?
Yeah, I think my big thing kind of looking at kind of I guess certain kind of demographics and audiences. So I think particularly for me making it like a social program to the program. I think before maybe I came in, it was very lots of kind of focused on the buck, so the performance side. Well, not so much performance, but that kind of competitive side. So I wanted to come in and make that social side just as important as the well-being side. Sorry, as the performance side. So even like, for example, so before I came in as UTC, only Bucks players got kit, like the Cardiff Met tennis kit. So first thing I did, I allowed everyone to buy the kit. So I made them a few different colours, made them cheaper so everyone could wear Cardiff Met tennis on their, on their chest kind of thing. I think I went big on social tennis, so I tried to theme throughout the term. So it wasn't so much rock up, play the same games, go home, come back next week. I tried to like theme it. So I'd bring a friend week. We did touch tennis tournaments, Christmas tournaments, charity events, but just that kind of side to include everyone. So didn't matter how good you were at tennis. Social tennis, it was different games. There was catching games, there was hitting games, there was endurance games. So even if you didn't have those tennis skills, you could still join in and have a really good time.
Yeah, that social tennis you were a master of, because I think it's easy to sort of just do the same games every week, and then maybe people that were turning up, a lot of the time might start to drift away. But you kept them on their feet, and were like, oh, what game are we going to do this week? And I was someone who occasionally went. I didn't go as much as I should have done, I guess, because I was more on the performance side, where you're getting ready for the next day for matches. I don't know how you did that, because you were playing the next day as well, and you were in there till 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
How good do you think sort of Cardiff Met has been over the years, I guess, before you, and if you've managed to keep in touch with it a little bit? I know you still obviously have friends there, but how good do you think Cardiff Met is at doing that compared to other universities? I feel like it is very welcoming to all levels. It caters to all abilities. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of networking with other universities as well kind of shows you what Cardiff Met can offer. I was going to say, I think for me coming in as again, I was by the time I got to university, I was a little bit more competitive maybe than I was when I was 13 years old. So I did want to play matches, but not have that pressure. But I remember when I kind of joined Cardiff Met, I wasn't, I'm not never played county tennis, I've never played national tennis, but coming in and just suddenly being asked for like interviews and doing headshots and, on a Wednesday, and I was like, wow, it was so cool because I wouldn't count myself as a performance tennis player, but then at Cardiff Met, all of a sudden I was first team standard. So I was like, wow, this is really cool. Yeah, I do think, yeah, compared to other universities, uh, so my first choice was Bath Uni, and one reason I really liked Bath was because of the tennis. I mean, amazing facilities. But if I'd gone to Bath, I wouldn't have had the experiences or the opportunities that I had. I think as well, Cardiff Met does really well, particularly the tennis siders, kind of giving you more than just your degree. So obviously, the tennis club part funded my level 3. I ran, my own kind of little tennis coaching program, I guess, for a year or so. Then obviously went on to all the opportunities for UTC as well. So developing, I think, particularly for me, confidence has always been a big thing. And yeah, definitely kind of Billy, particularly kind of helped me kind of push out my comfort zone to even like, I think when I started UTC, I couldn't really even talk in front of crowds, but now I
Mm.
would have no problem kind of shouting and
Mm.
about what I do now. So yeah.
So true. And I think, yeah, I couldn't agree more with the fact that how good, and I've said this for a few years now, ever since sort of understanding what Cardiff Met was all about, but it's so good. It's not just the degree you get, it's everything else that comes with it. And I think just from what I've done with the sports media and sports broadcasting, I've gained so much. And to be honest, at the end of the day, it's not going to actually be about that scribble on paper with the with the qualification. It's going to be about all the experiences that I've gained. And again, with your side, with the coaching, you were supported with the level 3, did you say it was?
Yeah, my level
So
3.
all that sort of stuff. And again, like your public speaking, you had to get up in front of, I mean, there was 60 plus tennis members. So you might have eventually seen yourself speaking in front of that many people. So I think it's just so good. And I couldn't recommend Cardiff Met enough. For that sort of thing and the extensive experiences you get, really. But lastly, on this sort of topic, what would you recommend, or what would your advice be to people that are in those roles where they're trying to open up tennis? I mean, that's the LTA's sort of motto, isn't it? Opening tennis up. To someone who is I don't know, sort of in a local club that is trying to just get more members involved. What would you recommend? I guess 1 or 2 things for them to start out and do.
Yeah, I think that's something actually definitely I'm finding in my role now, but definitely don't be afraid to ask. First of all, ask questions. So I think particularly if try and put yourself in someone's shoes. So for example, obviously I work with a lot of people now who experience mental health problems. So try and put yourself in those shoes and think, what would they see? What would they see as the barriers to come and play tennis? And then from there, that's when you can start to ask the people around you, or even asking them, like, how can we make this easier to get to, or more enjoyable to get to, or, like that.
Yeah. Yeah, fascinating. And I think, that's so true. It's making people feel comfortable, I suppose. And that's what you were so good at that. And that's why I think you were so successful in that UTC role.
Yeah, just saying, I think that's the one thing I was so insistent on, like going back to that UTC role. But anyone that came in, making sure you say hi. So making sure the committee or myself would go up to them and be like, "Hi, I'm Amy. I'm the UTC. Is it your first time here? Have you played much tennis before?" And that first welcome, then suddenly someone goes, "Okay, I'm in the right place. Someone said hi to me. Okay, I feel a lot better now I'm here." Because that first step through, stepping onto a tennis court, that is the biggest step. That is no one likes going into a room full of people. No one likes, going to their first exercise class. There's always that bit of, I do it, I go to, a fitness class. I'm always a bit like, oh, no, they're going, "Hi, I'm Amy. I'm here for." So that first step can be so daunting for someone.
Oh, again, I couldn't agree more. It's so funny how we as yeah, anyone, we as humans, just we enter a new sort of workspace. You at the start of the year, you go into a new class, and you're sort of a little bit scared of everyone because you automatically judge people based on you know, just because you don't know them, and you assume that
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
they might hate me, and so it just takes that first step of the person who is the more comfortable and is that in that position that you were to go and make the first move, and then just all of a sudden things just feel more comfortable, and it just makes so much sense. So it's a very, very good point. But yeah, you mentioned your new role. It feels like you've everything has been leading towards this new role.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
much about it, but the sort of the tennis side you've done at university at Cardiff Met, and then the sports psychology masters, and it's all led to this. So yeah, what are you doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I finished, sorry,
That's right.
yeah, after I finished my masters, so I did get a job at the University of Surrey for a little bit, working, yes, purely in tennis then. So I was their head of tennis for a little while. So my role there was very much working with the students, but working with the community to get people coming to play tennis at the university. I think since finishing my masters, I think I've always really struggled with trying to find my place of, I really love sports psychology and I love what it can do and help people, but how do I use that with grassroots people that are coming to my tennis session once a week?
Mm.
And I found my role. I found the place where I can use that. So yeah, I've just started. So I started in August. So I'm now the senior development officer for Surrey and London for Sport in Mind. So that's my role. Sport in Mind is a mental health charity that uses sport and physical activity to support people with mental health problems. So essentially, what the charity does, we provide sports sessions for anyone to come along to and basically experience and get the benefits of playing sport.
Fascinating. So cool. Yeah, it just seems like the perfect role for you. And you're a few months into it now, are you?
Yeah. I started in August, so yeah, I've been there
Okay.
3-4 months now.
And how much of it is sort of your weekly schedule? How much of it is being on court and doing those sessions, and how much of it is sort of, I guess, the office works kind of things, or is there not much office work?
Yeah, so no, I don't do any delivery now, so I'm not on
Okay,
court at all. The only time I'm on court is if I'm playing for myself now, which is been
nice.
really nice as I've started to really enjoy my tennis again.
Mm.
Again, not the competitive side, just hitting tennis balls.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, a lot of it is kind of office space, I guess, but I still go out to sessions. So we don't just do tennis, we do a range of sports. So yoga, we do have tennis, table tennis, badminton, horse riding, tai chi, uh, Zumba, Pilates. Yeah, we do loads of different sports.
How did how did this job come about? Was it something that was advertised, or did you go to them saying, "Look, I think I'm a good person to come and join you"?
Yeah, so funny enough, so they when I was working at the University of Surrey, they do a session up there, and I saw someone with one of these on. I was like, oh, Sport in Mind. So I did a classic Instagram
Mm,
search, and I was like, wow, this is exactly what I
mm,
want to do. So yeah, I kind of, I guess, had a little look to see if there was any jobs, and then this one came up, and I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is like, I think it's the impact and helping people. I think really kind of it gets me out of bed in the morning. I can really help people feel better
mm.
about their mental health.
So, I guess if we look more specifically at someone who utilizes your charity, can you give us like sort of an example of someone? Would they come to you and say, "Look, I'm struggling," and you sort of go to them and say, "Well, let's try and get you playing sport, and we can help you through that route." How is that specifically? How does that specifically work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I say with our sessions, they're like drop-in style. So they run. So the program we run in Surrey and London, which I oversee, is our adult program. So we're focused on anyone 17 plus for our sessions. So people might go to their GP. They might reach out to another mental health charity, and they can be referred to us. So they might be like, right, have you heard of Sport in Mind? This is what they do. People can also self-refer and self-diagnose. So if they know about us, they can just kind of turn up to one of our sessions and just reap the benefits. I say we are a mental health charity, but a lot of it, like go back to my 15-year-old self, a lot of it's about that distraction from mental health and the stresses of life. So we don't start talking about mental health in the sessions. It's very much
Mm,
you come play sport and then hopefully have that positive impact at the end of the
mm,
session. I think as well with our sessions, it gives everyone a meaning and a purpose, which sometimes when you're experiencing a mental health problem, that's really hard to find. So
mm,
hopefully with our session, it really gives someone that, a purpose. I'm going to go and play sport today. I'm going to go at
mm,
10 o'clock, 11 o'clock every Wednesday. I'm going to go and play badminton.
mm.
Um, so yeah.
How does I'm just thinking about sort of what you just said. That is it difficult from the sport in mind perspective to stay away from that topic of mental health, because that's what you just said. Like they're there to take their mind away from it, but at the end of the day, you're a mental health charity. So how difficult is that to navigate through?
Yeah, of course, if someone, discloses something, obviously we do have a safeguarding team and, we can make referrals to other charities. Obviously, I guess the big, message that we have with Sport in Mind, we're there to support people through activity and sport. So
Mm,
if someone does want to talk about it, we're not a talking charity, so we would
sure.
refer back to the GP or to other services. I mean, hopefully everyone knows the impact that sport and physical activity can have on your mental health, and that's what the charity tries to, I guess, use
Mm,
to help people through their mental health problem.
mm. Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's yeah, it sounds like a great thing you guys are doing. And sort of finishing up on this sport in mind topic, but how do you think your tennis in the past, whether that's been from your 14-year-old self getting into it to maybe your competitive side of tennis that you did at university? I know pretty much whatever competitive level you play, there are psychological things you have to go through with tennis because it's a brutal sport, and you've got to go through those processes. That must have helped you in your role today. But how do you think that has helped you understand psychology better?
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes you can speak from experience, can't you? So,
Mm,
I have played the competitive tennis. I have been, you know, me and myself on court, and a lot
yeah.
of matches I've been battling against myself, you know, doubting myself, not playing great tennis, not, I've been there. So I think that always helps me with my psychology side because I've experienced those lows and I've experienced the highs. So I think that always really helps with when I kind of speak about kind of my sports psychology side. And now I've done my masters, I've got the theoretical knowledge as well of
Yeah.
why people might think that way, or how can we, if someone has a thought, how can we change that thought to then impact that behavior to then impact the outcome.
Mm. Do you think? Sorry, last one on this. But do you think
Okay.
your initial interest in the psychological part of sport came through playing tennis? Do you think your sort of thoughts of, oh God, I'm struggling here in a tennis match, do you think that made you become more interested in psychology itself, or was that external? Was that something academic that at school you thought of?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think I've particularly kind of, when I started to play that competitive side of, losing matches. Why am I losing matches? And I was like, oh,
Mm,
and and particularly,
okay.
I think, particularly as a junior player, that emotional side, that's a big one, isn't it? Trying to
Yeah,
control those emotions,
yeah.
as you get more experience, as you get older, you can control, hopefully, them a little bit better. So
Mm,
I think for me, I would say it came from tennis, but I also think my personality as well. I think I'm quite thoughtful anyway. I do think a lot about why do I think this way? Why
mm,
have I had that thought kind of thing?
mm,
And then obviously I went off to college and did a sports science BTEC. To be fair, I did study AS psychology for a year, and
okay.
then went on to my BTEC because I wanted to make it more sports specific. And obviously there's three parts to sports sciences: psychology, biomechanics, and physiology. And I always favoured that psychology because I just found it so interesting how a little thought up here could just ultimately determine whether you won or like lose a tennis match.
Yeah, yeah. It's incredible, isn't it? I do think how I think tennis players are so in tune with what's going up there, or eventually over time they learn to become like that, because you have to be so in touch with what's going up there as a tennis player, because it affects everything that happens on the court. So I think actually, although a lot of tennis players will struggle with that side going through their junior careers and onwards and upwards, I think it's so good for the rest of their life. And clearly for you, it's been a massive help, because it's enabled you to understand it all and do what you're doing today, and helping others as a result. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think tennis is a brutal sport. I don't think there's many other sports that you're out there on your own. Well, until recently, years ago, you weren't even allowed. Your coach couldn't even really clap for you. It's a brutal sport, and I think particularly when I was coaching, we get to end of term and play competition week. I would always kind of say that, and I think there's not many sports where you probably lose more than you win. And that's really hard, particularly for when you're trying to teach, an 8, 9-year-old that. That's hard to, because everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to win matches and play well, and
Yeah.
that's not the case, and it might not be the case for most of the time you're playing tennis. So yeah, it's a brutal, brutal sport.
Yeah, it is a difficult one.
That's why we love it, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, why did we choose it? But
Yeah.
because it has so many other benefits too. But I guess I just want to touch a little bit on the elite side of tennis and psychology. Like, tennis can have so many benefits in terms of psychology up there, social factors, getting out there, staying fit, and I guess that's more of sort of beginners club level, however you want to call that. But then at the top level, you've got factors that play in that really affect people's mental health. Ones that come to mind are pros that have hung up their racket and retired. After that, they're like, it's a real struggle, because they don't have that day-to-day motivation. They don't have those day-to-day goals. How do you think sort of ex-professionals or aspiring players who are sort of undergoing setbacks every week because they're not achieving their goals, or they're not getting the results they want, how do you think that they're best able to sort of get through those setbacks psychologically?
Yeah, I think this is a real time. I must admit, if I was to become a sports psychologist, this was the kind of area I wanted to kind of focus in.
Right.
I think it's such a big thing when you become a sports person, because that is your identity. I am a tennis player, and that's only what I am. So I think it's really important, particularly for juniors, and as actually all the professionals as well, to have that other identity as well. So I think classic example at the moment, you're seeing it with Andy Murray. He's playing a lot of golf. That is probably him at the moment, probably going, right, I need to find something else that I can identify with, and for him that's obviously is golf. So I think that's really important with junior players and professionals. Of course, your identity, you're a tennis player, but you're also, you've got something outside of tennis, whether that's family, another sport, going to the gym, having something else that you can not fall back on, but you can also identify with, and have that connection with as well.
I often hear it quite a lot now, and you see it a lot as well with juniors and parents that feel like you have to be all in, and all you can do is tennis if you're gonna try and get to that goal of playing professional, winning Wimbledon, whatever goals they might have for their kid. But it's so important, isn't it, to have that perspective and sort of bird's eye view of it all, and understand that you've got to have other things going on. Otherwise, that is going to be your only identity, and then it could be a real struggle for you if things don't go your way.
You could roll one ankle and that's your career done. I think as well, isn't there? There used to be a stat a couple of years ago of like you had to be in the top 90 in the world to make money from tennis, something like that. And you think, right, think of how many tennis players are out there that are probably not making money right now, and that is such a harsh reality.
Do you think how important, and I know there's now roles that have come into the ATP Tour and WTA Tour where they have these mental health I wouldn't call them supervisors. I'm not sure the exact title, but sort of people there to support the players from event to event. So they're people on site that have their own sort of space or office space that players can go to. I've seen that at quite a few of the events now. When I was out in Thailand a few weeks ago, there was a designated person looking after the players if they needed to chat or whatever. How important do you think that is? And that must be nice for you to see as well.
Yeah, no, that's really important. Yeah, just having that kind of that support at events. I guess my only question then to kind of throw back to, the tournaments, the LTA, what happens after these players
Mm.
retire? Because I know they're bringing that a lot in with football clubs, particularly their like junior academies. They don't get selected, they get deselected. They now have started to bring in a support and a network for those athletes that then don't make it. Because yeah, that's brilliant at the time, but what happens after? Because that's probably the time where people probably need support the most.
I'm just looking up the exact name of the ATP thing, but they are bringing in. It's funny you mentioned that. So I don't know about the WTA, but the ATP have brought in this sort of, I guess, network business sort of idea where people on tour have these events every so often where they bring businessmen and businesswomen to meet with these tennis players. And I guess it looks like to me that they're sort of brainstorming stuff that they can do for after their careers. So it's really good to see that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that's happening on the WTA tour. If it's not, I wouldn't think it's going to take too long for that to be implemented. But yeah, it's good that sort of what you just mentioned there, they are thinking of, and it just needs to become, I think, a little bit bigger, and not just for the top players, but for all
Yeah,
of them,
absolutely everyone. Yeah,
especially for people on the ITF circuit and Challenger Tour. They're probably the ones
yeah,
that need it most.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's just something that's good to see, but hopefully it becomes bigger and bigger, and then more players, it becomes more sort of possible for everyone to get involved with. But yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for that, Amy. And I do want to ask you, what is next in terms of your career? Are you happy sort of developing at Sport in Mind and keeping going with that side of things? You seem pretty set on that at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, I guess my yeah, where I am at the moment is, yeah, exactly where I want to be, and I guess just helping, being part of the charity as it grows. I'll say at the moment we're very kind of south of the UK based, so I guess over the next couple of years is to, yeah, expand across the whole of the UK. I think from my side as well, obviously my role is currently split across Surrey and London. London, we're only currently in Brent. So that's my kind of big role over the next few years, is to kind of get Sport in Mind sessions running across the whole of London, um,
Mm.
which would be really exciting.
That would be so cool. Yeah, I want to keep on seeing that logo everywhere I go now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I know it's pretty. You were hoping to get some sessions in Slough, weren't you? Or how was that somewhere you were
Yeah,
looking at
yeah.
getting
So
into?
yeah, that's one of our kind of areas at the moment where we've got a few sessions, and yeah, just getting the word out there as well. The uptake, I think we all know, the kind of the crisis that's going on with men's health in the UK at the moment. So the more we can kind of shout about what we do, hopefully the more people we can support through that. I guess as a charity, we don't have waiting lists. We don't have, you don't have to be referred. You can self-refer, you can self-diagnose. All our
Yeah.
sessions as well, are free. So there's no kind of financial cost to come into well, obviously being at our sessions.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I guess the biggest thing is just getting us out there and shouting about Sport in Mind, so people who
Mm.
think can benefit from our sessions can just walk through the door and yes,
Yeah.
start playing some tennis.
Mm. Yeah, so good. Yeah, yeah. You're just. I reckon you're week by week helping more and more people, and especially in I guess areas like Slough, where you do get those people that might need some support. You're there to help them, and I think tennis is a great way of doing that, and the other
Yeah.
sports you do too. So it's really cool. Okay, and I'm going to finish up with asking you the all important question: who's your recommendation for the podcast? I'm hoping you've thought of someone, or if not, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Ooh. Um. I assume it's got to be a realistic choice, right?
We can have one realistic and one unrealistic. I had Mike Castle, who we both know well, who I will get on the podcast at some point to chat about coaching in tennis and all things, all things coaching. But he yesterday came on the live show for Cardiff Met Sport TV,
Yeah, I did. I
and
did have a little watch. I did. See, I
he
was still
said
involved.
yeah, good. I'm glad. And he has said he wanted Andy Murray on his podcast, so we can go as big as we want.
Yeah. Um, I say it would be cool, kind of non-tennis related, kind of sport related, like
Mm,
probably from my kind of view. Michael Melick, who's obviously a sports psychology lecturer at the university. Again, he's very big on kind of athlete well-being. Works a lot with kind of I think it's Cardiff Football Club.
okay.
So he would be a really one to kind of talk to, particularly on the kind of thread of kind of mental health and sport. Um, Tennis wise, um, I mean, if you could get Andy Murray, that'd be pretty cool.
One
Ask,
day, one
why
day.
is he? Why is he? Yeah, I don't know about the Djokovic move, but
That'd be fascinating, wouldn't it?
yeah, I would like to absolutely pick his brains about why is he, how that's come about.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that'd probably be my two recommendations, I'd say.
I like it. Maybe the psychologist is more doable, so I'll try and get onto them.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Amy. That was a great chat, and I'm sure everyone is going to be really intrigued to listen to that, because it's something that we haven't touched on the short lifespan of the podcast yet. So and I think it will be sort of a catalyst for getting more sort of psychologists on to speak about the game and what they do, whether that's in the professional circuit or whether that's at the lowest levels of the game too. So yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Okay. Oh, I just thought actually there's Soph is it Sophie Gibbs, JB Gibbs? I think that's what her name on Instagram. She's like tennis
Okay.
top sports psychologist.
Okay. So Sophie Gibbs.
I think it's Sophie Gibbs. I'll check.
Okay.
But yeah,
Check for me.
she's very up in the LTA tennis
Okay.
psychology world.
Nice. Right. We'll shout her out, and hopefully she'll find the pod.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Well, I just absolutely loved that chat with Amy Wright. She's an incredible person, and she's just what tennis needs to get more people playing the sport we all love. If you want to go and check out the Sport in Mind charity, I'll put the tags for their socials in the episode description, and we'll also share it on our social channels. So do make sure to go and check them out at Tennis Uncovered Pod. I'll then share all the information about the charity Amy works for. But Amy, I wish you all the best of luck for the coming years with the organisation, and I'm sure we'll have you back on the podcast soon for all the updates you have in terms of the charity and the work you're doing with tennis too. So all the best, and see you in the next episode, everyone.